Hey, what's up, everyone? Welcome to the show. Thank you for being here. Oh, wait, I gotta do one thing. I forgot something. Amateur hour this morning, but that's usually the case. One sec. I forgot to set up my pod mute. Oh, come on, Rob. Come on. But, yeah, I'm trying to do these in podcast format as well. No. Oh, boy. Started prematurely here. Oh. There we go. One second. I hope everyone's evening was good. I've been trying to do a lot of content, but I can't keep this pace up forever. But I am going to keep trying to do my 8 a.m. shows. There we go. Now we should be good. All right, everyone. You got the podcast format working. So welcome to the Normal America Show. So I am broadcasting on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Periscope, and on Podbean right now, which will later go up on iTunes, Spotify. That's going to be audio only. So if you think I have a lot of good things to say, but I'm just too attractive for you to concentrate on what I'm saying while listening to me, consider listening to me on podcast format. There is one challenge with Podbean that we're working through, which is if someone calls in, how in the world can you hear them on Podbean? So, we'll see. So, good morning, Rob Reiser. Dib 2020 says, you were right yesterday. What's happening today? We'll get to it. Thank you. Are we still at 1% chance to win like yesterday? I would up it a little, actually. I would say 4% chance now. Any hope this morning? Yeah. Who knows? But yeah, I would say the chances are still very slim. We'll talk exactly about what's going on. That's how we'll start the show, and what Trump would need to have happen to win. And, it's crazy. But, the theme of the show today is I just want to talk about how absurd this election system is in a first world country, from the reporting on it to the way that counties are counting votes. It's just insane. And I mean this, even if you don't believe there was fraud, even if you think that you're a person on the left and you think Biden is winning fairly, the way this has been done is absolutely unbelievable. It's outrageous. Just the inconsistencies from state to state and even county to county. The fact that, we rely on a system where it's being cheered when people counting the polls are putting up blockade so the public can't see them while they're counting the ballots. Everything about this is just, it's surreal. It's surreal. You would think you would want a theme of transparency, that as many eyes as possible on the ballots and the people counting the ballots, yet we seem to have the exact opposite. We don't have a consistent trend on how media outlets, even within their own company, decide to report which counties they're calling or how to predict, or reporting the fair issues of what's going on with this. And it just, the mail-in ballots are a complete joke. I have problems with them in the first place, but the fact that we radically changed to this system 3 months outside of the biggest election in our lifetime, maybe in the history of the country. It's absolutely crazy. So that's where I wanted to focus today. But let's get to what Trump would need to have happen to win. So what I want to do is bring up. I'm using the New York Times map. I mean, it's I can't tell you why one map's better than another, to be honest with you. But so here we have this map. So if everything stays the same, one second. Sorry, phone calls come in. If everything would stay the same regarding Wisconsin and Michigan, then what needs to happen is Trump could have a path to victory if he keeps Georgia, wins Pennsylvania, wins Arizona. At that point, he wouldn't need Nevada. If he loses Arizona, he could win Nevada. As you can see, but he has to win Georgia and he has to win Pennsylvania. Now, Georgia, I don't like the reason I up the percentage a little is I don't know exactly what's going to happen in Georgia and Arizona. At this point, I think each of those is a 50-50. But when you consider then winning 2 coin flips in a row, now what your percentage goes down considerably, like 30%. Pennsylvania, I still look to go to the Democrats, although there will be court challenges. And that's the end of the story of Pennsylvania goes to the Democrats. And the reason I believe this is Trump's only up about 150,000 votes right now. Remember, it started off like we could check. Maybe we could check. There we go. So remember when there was like 75% of the vote left, Trump was up like 700,000. So now increasing that to 89%, so 14%, and Trump's lead has significantly collapsed. Out of that portion, if these trends would continue, which they may not, but everyone's saying the majority of the ballots left to be counted are from areas such as Philadelphia, and they're from early mail-in voting. So if that trend continues the way that's been going, you can see right here absentee votes, so those that weren't done in person, 78% go to Joe Biden. If that trend would continue, then Biden will end up winning by a couple percentage points in Pennsylvania. And you can see here the trend that this has been going. So when you see here, when we were at 75%, look at this gap right here you had between Trump and Biden. It was a sizable gap, and ever since, it's been steadily declining. If that trend continues, it's going to be a comfortable win for Joe Biden. So that makes it very, very, very unlikely that Trump wins Pennsylvania. If Trump does not win Pennsylvania, that's the end of it. I'm glad, Coffee, I'm glad you're... Carlos, yeah, that's not. He says we have to vote again on December 1st at in day at polling stations. Count previous absentee if you like. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's going on. Now, so it looks likely that when the map is finished, it's very unlikely that Trump's winning, right? So I guess maybe I should up my prediction from 4%. Let's put it at like 10%. So with just the map, it's like 4%. But then there is the possibility of court challenges. I think it will be very, very difficult for the courts to make any decision that would change the results of what that map will look like. And I talked about this yesterday, but the first reason is even if we assume that these justices are on the up and up or these judges are on the up and up, they would literally be making a decision that they know will light this country on fire, the likes of which we've never seen since literally the Civil War. And it will take people of incredible moral character to make that, and certainty to make that decision. Like, you don't make that decision if you're like, well, I kind of think this is the right decision, but I don't feel strongly about it. And I don't think we have that. In addition, I don't even think I don't know how many times conservatives are going to rely on the courts only to be shocked again. Remember, this is the same body, the courts, particularly the Supreme Court, that decided in Nevada you can go to the casino but not to church. If I'd have before that case, if you were aware of that curse, you were like, "This is that case." You were like, "No brainer." At best, it'll be a 4-4 split, but there's no way that the way this rules is a 5-3 that you can go to the casino but not to church because of COVID. Well, that's exactly how they roll. Now, if 5 justices were willing to rule on that issue, do you think they wouldn't be willing to rule to favor the establishment and the Democrats when it comes to this election? D. Gulag says, I haven't been able to sleep since this all started. Yeah, I've been getting not much sleep. So, but yeah, that's basically my interpretation of why I think that it's very unlikely. And, in addition, you might be saying like, well, I think Trump in Pennsylvania, I think Trump in Arizona, I think Trump in Georgia, has got a really good shot at all of those. I don't know. I think that even if it was a fair election, that's going to be really tight in all 3 of those states. But it's not fair. There's corruption going on. So, at this point, I think that if you're, look at it this way. If you're someone who believes that there was corruption in places like Wisconsin, Michigan, and all across the country to favor Joe Biden, why do you think that would be different now when it comes to Arizona, Georgia, and Pennsylvania? So basically then you're relying on, well, this corruption will be corrected in the courts. So I guess we shall see. Roy Reiser says, shouldn't they be more afraid of patriots? Why? I talked about this yesterday. First off, where were the Patriots when the lockdowns happened? Should they be afraid of the Patriots over that? Because I watched a bunch of the Patriots, the Trump supporters, fiscal conservatives say, yeah, Rob, you're a terrible person for criticizing these lockdowns. In March, I was losing subscribers because Trump supporters and conservatives were telling me grandma was going to die if we didn't give up all of our rights for a lockdown. And the conservatives have been relatively silent on the massive, the biggest stripping of rights I've seen in my lifetime. They were silent. Well, they grumbled. They didn't do anything. They watched as their Democratic leaders went out and said Black Lives Matter and Democrat and Biden voters could go riot and they can go do whatever they want. But if you want to go to church or if you want to see your mom in a nursing home or if you want to go to your daughter's wedding or if you want to go to your job that we've deemed non-essential, you can't go. They took it. Conservatives took it. Yep. Okay. Oh, this sucks. Oh, well. I would say it's looking good for Bud. In addition to that, even what are conservatives going to do? Like, let me put it this way. Let's say that the election goes the way it's looking and Biden wins. I've been getting text messages, comments. I've even been seeing great people like Tucker Carlson tell us, it's not all bad. It's not all bad. Hey, it looks like, the margin in the House, is it going to be as bad as we thought it was for conservatives? And it looks like, so far it's looking like, Republicans might keep the Senate. So, right, great, right? It's fantastic. You see how that works? You see that? Already hedging. Already. Does that sound like a bunch of people that are like, we're not going to take this result? Is that what that sounds like? Well, hey, the Senate, that'll block the radical agenda, right? Lindsey Graham, he'll take care of it. Thank God Lindsey Graham was there against the coup against Trump. Thank God he was there about the tech censorship and things like that. I mean, he did a fantastic job. Lindsey Graham did, right? Fantastic. So he's there. He'll take care of all this. Does that sound like a bunch of people that are like, we're going to make sure that this isn't stolen? Is that what that sounds like? Republicans are lame ducks without Trump, says D. Gulag. That's exactly right. Again, it will return to some form of the Republican Party under George W. Bush. Sounds exciting, right? Boy, I know in my area in rural Pennsylvania, George W. Bush and that Republican Party, that was really a party that was really concerned about the hardworking people here. You know, remember the days of George Bush? Tucker Carlson, love him. Best person in media last night. It's not all bad news. You know, think of the radical agenda that the Democrats would have unleashed. They would have packed the courts. They would have added, who cares? It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's establishment versus those not in the establishment. And just because there's an R next to your name doesn't mean that you're not part of the establishment. And make no mistake about it, if Trump loses and the rest of the results go exactly as predicted, this is an enormous win for the establishment. And we will not see a president that is outside of the establishment for another 30 years. Period. It's not going to happen. What's my incentive to back the establishment Republican Party over the establishment Democratic Party? What's the incentive? So that's how I feel about it, you know. And actually, last night I ended up doing a late show that was unanticipated with my friend SJG, and then I stuck around for a little, and I was talking to a few Biden supporters that were on, and kind of going through some points with them. And actually, they were very nice. It was a constructive conversation, I thought, you know, and basically at least one of them held their nose to vote for Biden and said, well, I thought they were a lesser of two evils. I said, why? Well, he thought that they have a chance to push Biden further to the left than they did Trump. In what way? A vote for Joe Biden is not a vote for Joe Biden. That's not what it was. A vote for Joe Biden is a vote for the media that refused to cover any negative stories of Joe Biden. A vote for Joe Biden's a vote for the intel communities that were totally backing Joe Biden and engaged against the coup of Donald Trump. A vote for Joe Biden's a vote for Mark Zuckerberg and Jack Dorsey and these tech companies that are censoring people. It's a vote for the wealthiest people in this country that overwhelmingly donated to Joe Biden and to the Democratic Party. That's what it is. It's a vote for the tactics that we saw the Democrats use in the lead up to this election. That's what a vote for Joe Biden was. Joe Biden, everybody knows, he's not going to be someone who's like a strong leader of his party. He has cognitive decline. It'd be shocking if he makes it all 4 years of his term. It's the people around Joe Biden that you vote for. Yeah, the Lincoln Project. That's who you voted for. You know who you voted for, my left-wing friends? When you cast a ballot with Joe Biden's name on it, you know who that vote was for? John Bolton. It was for the neocons. It was for Max Boot. It was for Bill Kristol. It was for every single person that favored the Iraq War, that are now total neocons, totally on board with the Democratic Party and with Joe Biden. That's who you voted for. You voted for foreign wars. That's what you voted for. Now, you might say, but wait a minute, there were a bunch of things I didn't like about Trump as well, and I didn't vote for all that crap. I just thought Biden was the lesser of two evils. Fair enough. But on the most important issue, as I've said over and over and over, and people disagree with me, you know, and which is fine to disagree, but some people look at me like, oh, you're crazy. When I say over and over again, the only issue worth voting over is corruption, period. Why? Because what's your issue? Like 5 right-wing friends on here. What's your issue? Second Amendment? Working class people, jobs? Is that your issue? You know, China? The biggest foreign threat that's emerging against us? Is that your issue? Protecting us from them? Or if you're on the left, what's your issue? Climate change? Medicare for all? Stopping wars? The only reason that any of those issues matter when you vote is if your vote matters. And guess what? Your vote doesn't matter if our elections are controlled by the FBI and the CIA and by wealthy oligarchs that influence our politics. It doesn't matter. Period. And you voted for those people. You voted against the one person that tried to challenge him, even if you hated that guy. That's what it was. You voted against holding any of them accountable. That's what happened. Yes, it turns out the Republican Party may keep the Senate. Do you think they're going to hold people accountable that were engaged in the coup? Is Lindsey Graham finally going to get around to those subpoenas? Is that what's going to happen? Do I think Trump has a shot with the SCOTUS? I mean, there's always a chance anything could happen, but I kind of already talked about that, how, it would take a very brave SCOTUS because they know if they would overturn what the map looks like, that there will be riots in the street, the likes we haven't seen since probably the Civil War. Like, the amount of internal conflict and violence that occur would be insane. So I liken it to the Immaculate Reception, the famous Steelers play. Allegedly, the refs said in that game they were fearful of their life if they overruled that touchdown that Franco Harris had. That's basically where these justices will be. Does this Supreme Court, the same Supreme Court that voted on a 5-3 to allow people to go to casinos and Nevadas but not churches, does that sound like a Supreme Court that's brave, that's willing to make that sort of decision? Is that what it sounds like to you? I mean, anything could happen. But I think the Republicans are constantly putting their faith in a court that constantly lets them down. Constantly. I mean, if I was to tell you that Supreme Court, or that if I was to tell you that courts would have ruled in places like Pennsylvania that your ballot that you fill out for an election, the signature of it doesn't have to match your voter registration, you just said, what? That's nuts. That's exactly what happened. So, Cub Kuda says, I saw the leaders of the Lincoln Project on C-SPAN say one of their top targets was Lindsey Graham because he was once one of them but became a Trumpster. Glad he won. Lindsey Graham might be the worst. Why? Because Mitt Romney blatantly shows you he's an anti-Trumper. He's an establishment Republican that would have hoped that Hillary Clinton would have won. Lindsey Graham pretended to defend Trump and did nothing. Lindsey Graham is secretly thrilled that Donald Trump's looking to lose. He's thrilled. You don't want Donald Trump. Let's get back to the old days where the Republicans, they do what they do best. Complain about the president. Oh, man, repeal and replace Obamacare if we ever get power. How'd that work? Once they get power, they're like, oh, we actually have to do things now? We weren't prepared for that. And they certainly didn't want someone like Donald Trump leading the party. So they paid lip service. And Lindsey Graham's a good talker. He does great with it. And I'm sure the Lincoln Project's like, that dastardly Lindsey Graham, he's next on our list. Yeah, okay, whatever. That dog and pony show to me is uninteresting. There's so much voter fraud in Philadelphia. Yeah, it's all over the country. Of course. Does it matter? Let me ask an honest question. Does it matter that we can see obvious evidence of voter fraud? Does it matter at all? What if the courts do nothing about it, which is likely? Did it matter then? Hasn't that been a theme of these 4 years? We see the corruption every day. Every day. Does it matter? Was there one person in this country that could honestly say, if they're really trying to be objective, that what happened with the media in the Silicon Valley a week and a half before the election in this country was fair? Is there one person? With the media basically refusing to ask Joe Biden any difficult questions, burying a story, censoring people pushing a story that showed possible corruption of the Bidens? Does anyone think that was neutral? No, of course not. So, anything going to be done about it? Nope. We can see the corruption in the coup against Donald Trump, even if you don't think it's a coup, even if you're just taking the IG's word at it. The IG's admitted 17 errors and omissions in a FISA warrant to spy on an American in Donald Trump's campaign. Was shocked. The IG that was requested by the Democrats, shocked. We have FBI agents and lawyers that changed evidence to say the opposite of what it said in order to keep spying on Trump's campaign. Does it matter? Has anyone been held accountable? We all know it, and what happened? We know. And in many ways, it's worse for the country that the corruption was outed and nothing was done about it than if we would have just kept the corruption hidden. Because now the people that act corrupt, they're like, oh, we don't even have to hide it anymore. Because they control culture and control the narrative, they can do whatever they want. So you see this corruption, and what are you going to do? What's going to happen? What do you think Trump supporters are going to do? You know, okay, corruption, if it stands. If we see, I got to take this call. It looks important. 1 second. Sorry about that. What are Trump supporters going to do? First off, I cannot stress this enough. I am against any violence in the name of politics. Against it. It is immoral and it will be ineffectual. So I'm against it. However, there will be some. If this election's stolen, as it appears to be with all the fraud that we see everywhere, there will be people that are furious. Those people, if they take to the streets, let me tell you what will happen to them. The authority figures in this country will crush them. They will crush them. The same people, the Trump supporters that have been defending the police, right? Because the left, they hate the police. ACAB, right? Hate them. So the Trump supporter that says like, Blue Lives Matter. Stop the war on police. We need to defend the police. When that person then goes out and says, I'm going to do something to defend this country, and they're in a protest where violence breaks out, the police will crush them with a smile on their face. Don't believe me? Look at how the police are so giddy to enforce the unconstitutional lockdown orders in places like New York. They won't dare lift a finger to stop the people defacing statues and public property or rioting and burning down neighborhoods. The police won't do anything about that. But lockdown, you didn't wear a mask? Oh, they're coming for you. The entire media will be blaring terrorist Trump supporters trying to overthrow a duly elected government, taking to the streets engaged in violence. My God, the Democratic mayors will say, get the police, call the National Guard, bring in the Marines, take them down. My God, the riots everywhere, the bloodshed. The same people that told you, oh, you know, it's just a few bad apples with Black Lives Matter. What riots? What riots? They need to be bailed out. They're just exercising their free speech. We'll suggest crushing you. And they'll win. They will. Right. Chris is right. Republicans will participate in the political process like always. Absolutely right. That's what'll happen. And there'll be distractions. And look, I've predicted things will get markedly better with the Biden election in the short term. COVID's not going to be a big deal anymore. The lockdown, you having trouble paying your bills like I am? Don't worry, the lockdown will be ending. Don't worry. No problem. Joe Biden will take care of it. But Rob, cases will still be going up. Well, the media that's been talking about that every day, they'll start to say, but actually hospitalizations are low. Look, the death rate's low. It looks like we're rounding the corner. Joe Biden did a fantastic job. Within 2 or 3 months of a Biden presidency, we'll see that. Wow, Biden, he crushed it. But wait a minute. Isn't that what people like Rob and almost every conservative were saying about COVID? Yes, infections are up, but what really matters is how impactful is this disease when people get it? And we can see that the death rate is incredibly low. It's not climbing up with the case rates. We can see that hospitalizations are down. Wasn't the original argument? Yeah, people are going to get this disease, but what's important is making sure our hospital system's not overwhelmed, i.e. flatten the curve. So why are there all these restrictions and lockdowns that we're suggesting? Of course, that's what we've been saying, but they control the narrative. And so reality will change. That's what'll happen. So the economy will start to pick up. COVID will seem like, wow, it was a huge thing. It'll start to be solved. And people will eventually, even those that are really angry about this election, they'll move on. And they'll grumble, and you'll have people like me, but what am I really doing? I'm reaching 40 people? That's what I'm capable of? And it doesn't matter how soberly I outline the facts. No, small handful of people will care. And that's it. And then it'll be back to business as usual. The same thing the establishment's been doing for 30 years, which is slowly but surely selling out the American worker to places like China, slowly but surely eroding your rights a little more day by day, enriching their military-industrial complex friends by getting us into foreign wars. Business as usual. And there'll be some Benghazi-type commission by the Republicans. We're going to check into this fraud. We're going to get it. And there'll be year-long hearings, and nothing will come of it. They'll give a report that's scathing, but do nothing. And the tech companies will continue to hold power, and they'll continue to censor you more and more every day because the establishment understand. What incentive do they have to not do it? Think of it this way. They took a huge gamble. They blatantly interfered in the election right in front of all of America's eyes. And looks like it's going to pay off. They took a huge risk to help the establishment. So if the establishment wins, do you think that they're going to punish the tech companies? Do you think they're going to make it so the tech companies can't silence voices? Then what's their incentive? Why wouldn't they keep it up? Remember, the same people that told you 12 Russian trolls posting on Facebook and Pokemon Go stole an election have no problem with the platforms of Facebook and Twitter and YouTube and all the media companies being in the tank and propagandists interfering for the Democratic Party. They don't have a problem with it at all. In an even closer election. No problem. Well, I hope more people wake up. I do, Chris. I appreciate it, but... What's up, Jeff? How you doing, man? Hope everything's going well. And I talked yesterday. I'll just repeat it real quick. As bad as things are, like there is something sort of refreshing about it, right? Like when your back's against the wall, you're like, okay, well, And the importance was always what you do as an individual. And that's true in and out of politics, right? So, I'll keep pushing for what I see as our rights in this country and for the greatest country in the history of the world. It's kind of like a weight off your shoulder. You're like, okay, I have clarity now. And yeah, I know it sounds depressing. People are like, oh, black pill, blah, blah, blah. Look, let me be clear. There's still a chance, albeit small, that Trump could pull it out. The courts could point out this obvious election fraud, which we'll get to a lot of it here coming up. That chance exists. Small, very small, but it exists. But I was right, wasn't I? What was my prediction for the election? I think Trump will lose because people are underestimating the fraud that we'll see. That was my prediction. Almost every conservative I know was like, oh no, Trump landslide. Or Trump will win, even if the courts would overrule this, even if somehow it goes to Trump, I still think it's fair to say my prediction stands. The crux of it, which was don't underestimate this fraud. Now, I'd be happy to eat crow. I would. I'd be happy to have Trump come out and win. But I don't see it. Yeah, and that's not a bad point, Chris. If you just drag it out as long as possible, at least that keeps the government from being able to act. I guess. But, and that's fair. So let's talk about some of the fraud that we're seeing. First, the big one, which we've talked about, or a big one. Let me first say this. The Republicans lost before Election Day. And I don't mean literally with the ballots that were submitted. They lost because they allowed the left to radically change the way we do elections 3 months before the election. In the most consequential and highest turnout election, at least that's what they were predicting, probably in our country's history. Why would they do that? They allowed the tech companies and the media to completely interfere in the election. Why would they do that? You know what they did? Lindsey Graham and them were like, wow, this censorship of the oldest newspaper in the country, the New York Post. The censorship by the tech companies. Well, I'm going to write a strongly worded letter. Oh, I saw a litany of Republicans taking to Twitter. Man, it was very impressive to see the strong tweets they issued at Jack Dorsey. Very impressive. Man, if I was Jack Dorsey, I would have wiped my ass with those tweets. As he probably did. Not literally. I don't know if it's possible to do that. Good job, Republicans. You did it. It's like you're going into the NBA Finals and you find out the other team paid the refs off and you're like, I don't care. Let's do it. And then you're shocked. Oh, my goodness. You mean the refs that were paid off helped the other team? I didn't see that coming. My goodness, what happened? Where were they? You want to know where the Republicans are? I'll tell you. You want to know what the Republicans were up to? While the tech companies and while the media was interfering in the election? You want to know what Republicans were doing? They were voting to declare QAnon a dangerous group. That's where they were. Didn't have time to actually take any legislation or any debate up on the floor about, our election being stolen by corporate oligarchs and mainstream medias that are supposed to be the fourth estate defending democracy and the people. Didn't have time for that. Didn't have time to question or do anything about the way the elections were massively being changed. Didn't have time for that, did they? But man, it was very important for those conservatives to go along with the Democrats and say QAnon's a dangerous group. Not Antifa, not Black Lives Matter. Didn't have time for that. Hey, what's up, Jimmy Baker? Destiny obliterated you. Why do I have a channel after that debate? Impressive trolling effort, but I think anyone objective could see. At least I was not obliterated in that debate. I think I won quite handedly. So we went into Election Day, and okay, so the system stacked, as always. Again, if Trump would have won... Oh, I'll ask real quick. Is my camera and voice out of sync for anyone? Can anyone tell me on any of the platforms if, the video's lagging behind? Okay. People say no. Good. If Trump had won, it's an even bigger upset than 2016. Literally every institution in this country against him as strongly as possible. Oh, it's slightly out of sync on Twitch. Okay. I don't know. Who knows what's going on Twitch? Maybe it'll fix. Why does that matter? Like, you're on the left. Who cares, right? You're on the left. Who cares? Orange man bad, right? Orange man bad. Because, as I was telling a person last night, do you think when you get, let's say you're a progressive. The person I was talking to last night's like, well, I'm a Bernie supporter. You just signed the death warrant for any real person that would have similar beliefs of Bernie ever getting control of the Democratic Party. You just signed it. You voted for corporatist Joe Biden. You voted, like, Bernie Sanders is anti-establishment. That's the idea that his supporters have. You literally just voted for a guy who, other than Hillary Clinton, is the avatar of the establishment. Been in Washington for 47 years. Crucial, powerful part of the people like Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, all of those establishment people. That's what you voted for. If he would have been rejected, then perhaps people in the Democratic... And look, I have no love for progressive politics. I don't. But there are a lot of good people that lean left that are like, we don't like the Republican Party for whatever reason, which is fine. That's their right. You could be a good person and disagree politically. That's one of the things, the ideas that make this country great. I don't have a problem with that. I have plenty of people on the left that I talk to and respect, right? What you should have been hoping for was for Joe Biden to get crushed so then you could get a person who actually registers with your beliefs instead of going, well, let's get corporatist Joe Biden in there and then hope we can make him anti-establishment, turning against his 47 years of history. I don't know. On my end, it doesn't show... Like on my OBS, it doesn't show that I should be buffering, but people are saying that I'm buffering, so... I'm just going to keep going. There's nothing I know what I could do to fix it. So if it gets too bad, I apologize and understand. Rob, please ask Destiny for another debate. I'm assuming we'll run into each other at some point. What will we do that's different this time? Just say, you're just a conspiracy theorist. What's the Wall Street Journal say? Says Destiny. You know, it's a real impressive performance. Put the debates up there. So that was the first interference that we see. Second, why did they stop counting ballots in all these Democratic cities on election night? How do we see these curves that were going where it looked like Trump had all these trajectories where he was going to win? And then suddenly they were like, we're done counting the ballots. We're done. Just in Democratic cities, in all the swing states, they stop counting ballots. Then once they see how many ballots they're going to need to eventually win, all of a sudden in the middle of the night between 3 and 5 a.m., all of these cities start to find hundreds of thousands of ballots. And they're all for Joe Biden, or almost all for Joe Biden. Now, let's say for argument's sake that that's not corruption, that that's literally just how it happened to play out. Can't you see, if you're on the left, how shady that looks? And everybody knew that both sides, if it was a close election, were going to accuse the other side of corruption. So if you're one of these election officials, you would want to make sure that you had every opportunity to not give any appearance of possible corruption. So why would you intentionally stop counting the ballots like that? Why would you do it? Because they don't care. Because it is corruption. That's why. It's shameless. Someone give me a good reason. Here's the only reason I've heard. Well, maybe they were taken off guard. They didn't realize how much they had left. And if conservative districts and everywhere could keep counting throughout the night, why did they have to stop? Even if there was still a lot to get done and they knew they wouldn't have it done that night. So keep counting. Someone told me, well, they were counting, they just weren't reporting. Why? Why did they make that decision all of a sudden? They decided to change how it was going. Just so happened in swing states that was trending towards Trump, but they didn't coordinate it with each other, all these Democrat cities. Nope. It was just totally organic that they all decided to do something that we've never really seen at the exact same time. All stopped counting and reporting at the same time. And then, in each one of those, the exact same thing happened where massive influx of ballots were found at the same time and reported for Joe Biden. And Jim Baker says, why are they so slow at counting? That's another question. How can a place like North Carolina that had 95% of ballots counted, they're in the first batch that were reported. In fact, the New York Times, they have this forecast needle. In 2016, they had it for every state. They had it for the national election. This time they said, well, because of mail-in ballots and states having different laws about how late you could count ballots, like in Pennsylvania, it's up to 3 days afterwards. They took 3 swing states and chose to only forecast them with their little election needle thing, right? Only 3. And that was Florida, North Carolina, and Georgia. And the reason they chose those 3 was because they said they were the most transparent and they understood the way they were counting ballots because it hadn't changed much. So how is it that North Carolina is like, okay, we're one of the first states to be reporting. Bam, 95% counted. We only have 5% left. And you know what they say now in North Carolina? It will take until November 12th. 7 days from now for them to count the final 5%. Does anyone believe that? I mean, it's unbelievable. How about this? And this is before I get to accusations of literal fraud that people have seen of, kicking pollsters out and looking like ballots are going into the garbage and, all of a sudden suitcases and stuff coming in the middle of the night. And then, we found another 100,000 ballots. 99.9 of them are for Joe Biden. How about this? We really believe Wisconsin? We really believe 90% voter turnout? That's what we believe? When we could see historically, even in 2016, we were at 70, like low 70%. But all of a sudden this election, 90%. I'm supposed to believe there was more inner city enthusiasm for Joe Biden than Barack Obama. That's what you want me to believe. It could be. But that's incredible. And then when you start to look at the individual districts, there's places in Michigan, elsewhere, over more people voting than were on the registration rolls. Now, maybe they didn't correctly upstate the registration rolls, right? Wisconsin has same-day registration. I think Michigan does as well. So maybe a bunch of people registered. In some areas, in Michigan, over 200% voter turnout. That would mean that you would have needed double the people to register on election day than were already registered and have everyone show up to vote. Everyone. Then there are accusations if you go to Michigan's board and check their thing. There are people that are 120 years old, 118 years old that apparently cast absentee ballots for Joe Biden. What's up, Sable Vet? How you doing, man? Great to hear from you. T-Bone says, I'm listening to you and here basically we're screwed, but no violence. So what's your suggestion? What can we do? The best thing that we could do is, 1, you need to wake people up. This is a battle between the globalists, the establishment, and those that are against it. The battle will be won through information. That's right, because there's a small group of these globalists, right? And then there's a small group of us that are trying to fight back against it. And by the way, it doesn't have to just be conservatives. It's not Republican versus Democrat. It's establishment versus people against that. But the mass of people are in the center somewhere. They might lean one way or another, but they're in that center. Whichever side gets that mass on their side wins. The globalist, their goal is to keep those masses ignorant. To not let them know. That's why they control the media. That's why they control the flow of information. That's why they're censoring people, independent content creators on tech companies. Our job is to wake as many people up as possible. Violence and things like that only make it so the globalists are able to say, see, big group in the center, see what they're doing, see how dangerous they are, see how violent they are. Don't go with that side, come with us. And it's more likely to work. So what we could do is start waking people up. How you do that is a difficult question. Everybody's unique. My style is different than your style. What I'm good at is different than what you're good at. So whatever you're good at life, be authentic. Show that you're a real person. Be a good person. Try to keep informed and try to wake as many people up as possible. Get involved at your local level. Politically. Start working from the ground up. Working locally politically. Working locally to wake people up. And then go from there. Andrew Breitbart was right. Politics is downstream of culture. We have lost the culture completely. Lost. The establishment left dominates the culture. It dominates academia. It dominates the entertainment industry. It dominates Silicon Valley. We need to start getting back in those areas. Period. Hey, thanks for the donation. Sandwich Savant says, I don't believe there's fraud because Augustus Masonic on ATS sarcastically scoffs at the notion. I really like Augustus, but I can see that. Do I think there'll be a redo of the entire vote after fraud gets exposed? No, I do not. That would require the courts to intervene, and I think the courts know if they intervene and it looks like Biden had won, that there will be riots in this country, the likes of which we've never seen, and that they will not have the fortitude to make that sort of decision. Thoughts on Trump increasing his minority participation? Yeah, it's fantastic. The Republican Party, what we should become in the Republican Party, is a party that's the big tent party. And I take grief all the time because you know how many people have flipped out on me because I'll say this. I don't care that I'm white. I don't care at all. Literally, I don't. I understand there are people that do, and I understand there are people that care about being Hispanic and black. I don't begrudge that. That's fine. I personally don't care, though, at all. And I say this all the time. I'm certainly against any sort of coercion, but something like forced sterilization or something like that. But if white people would all wake up tomorrow and say, hey, we're not going to procreate anymore, and so 100 years from now there wouldn't be any white people in the United States, I wouldn't care at all. I'm more concerned that there are people that share my values that'll be around in 100 years than people that look like me. And when I say that, people say, not everyone, but I had people that'll yell at me like, one, that'll just be like, you're a race traitor, whatever. I don't even care. But second, but don't you understand that if that was the case culturally, there won't be people that share your beliefs that come from these disparate backgrounds. Really? Ask Cuban Americans about it. If you're going to point the finger at a group that's responsible for Trump's loss as far as, it's corruption, that's why. But as far as what the exit polls are showing, what group you'd point at? White people. They're the ones that have shifted towards Biden. People of color, they're shifting towards Trump. Why? Because give people credit. Many of them don't view themselves as just a skin color. I know this will come as a shock to many people on the left, many Democrats. You ready? This is going to be a shocking statement. Black people are individuals too. Yeah. Did you know that? Unlike what Joe Biden says, you're not black if you don't vote for him. That's not how black people view themselves. I've been saying, and my buddy Carlos is here who could back this up. I've been saying for years, falling on deaf ears, mainly from the Republicans I talk to. What are we doing to reach out to communities that don't traditionally vote Republican? What are we doing to reach out to people of color? Our message to them should be simple. We're going to treat you as an individual. We think conservatism and the values outlined in the Bill of Rights and in the Constitution will be beneficial to everyone. We think the ideas of individuality and encouraging maximum amounts of freedom will be better for all communities. That's it. We're not going to pander to you. We're not going to say, oh, based on your skin color, we offer you X. Nope. We're going to treat you like adults and treat you like individuals. We're going to judge you by the content of your character and not the color of your skin. The Republicans should have been making that case over and over and over. And to the extent Trump kind of did. And looks like it paid off in many places. So yeah, I'm excited that, and I get it when people say, well, still overwhelmingly these communities voted Democrat. So overwhelmingly what they did was listen to the narrative. You don't think that people in the white community don't do the same? That's powerful stuff. Imagine growing up your whole life and being told by everyone in a position of influence that has a voice in the narrative that the country's out to get you because of your skin color. That's hard. One side's completely racist, but the other side that you've been voting for your whole life, they care about you. It's hard to break out of that. So it's refreshing to see that it's trending that way. As laughable as it is, celebrity endorsements, and they are laughable, every one of them, regardless if they're for Trump or Biden or Republican or Democrat. They're laughable in the sense you shouldn't vote because of some sort of celebrity endorsement. But, you saw wealthy black entertainers for the first time coming out in support of a Republican who we're told Trump's the most racist president. Why would they do that? Well, because I think they see the game and they're like, no, I'm not going to be told that based on how I look, I have to think a certain way. Screw that. No, I don't think the black people that voted for Trump would have voted for a Romney clone. No way. Grimfang says, Trump saved the GOP and at the same time destroyed them. Now it's up to the GOP to get off their butts and start fighting for the U.S. Good luck. Lindsey Graham will get on it. This country will be saved by the strongly worded letters and Hannity segments that Lindsey Graham's about to issue. You ain't seen nothing yet. Tune in to Hannity next week. It's going to be lit, y'all. Lindsey Graham's going to make some startling claims about how he's going to get to the bottom of things. This time it's going to happen. What else can we do? Support independent voices, support candidates and people that are advocating for stopping this coup, for calling out this corruption. Chance do I give for Nevada going for Trump? I would say like 30%. Didn't Trump say rhinos were his biggest enemy? He may have said that. It's basically true. Seven, if you're having trouble, maybe consider going to... Are people in D-Live having trouble? Is that what's going on? You could consider going to Twitch or YouTube. Normal America with Rob Noor on YouTube. So let me see what's going on. And I don't have things open that should be causing... Let me make sure, though. I'll close everything. I don't know why D-Live... It would be throttled on D-Live there. I don't know. And other people are telling me on the other platforms that it seems to be going fine. Full Alex Jones voice there. I'm terrible at impressions. But one of the positives, if Trump loses, which looks very, 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 very likely, is that, again, I know the QAnon people were mad at me. And I was kind of, ribbing them a little, but I have reason to. I talked about it. Everything, first off, I don't judge anyone for conspiracy theories they believe because the official narrative is Epstein killed himself. That is the most unbelievable conspiracy that you can imagine. And yet that's what we're told by all of the people in positions of power happened. So far be it for me to criticize anyone for any conspiracy they believe. just to get that out there. Second, the QAnon people, a lot of the information they came and dug up with, they maybe even had before me and people like me, and I believe a lot of it was accurate. When it gets to a lot of the sex trafficking stuff, I'm very, 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 very careful about that. I didn't follow it. And the reason is because you got to be careful when you're accusing people of heinous stuff like that if you don't have definitive proof. I think that's pretty unethical. Not judging anyone in QAnon saying that happened. I just didn't follow that portion of it. For me, I believe what I could see and what I can prove, or what it seems likely based on evidence that I could see. And I immediately had problems with QAnon because of the idea of trust the plan, trust them, that there's this entity out there that's going to take care of everything for you, whether it be Donald Trump or the group of people that are Q. That's incredibly dangerous. And I saw many people in Q criticizing me when I was saying, look, we could see that James Comey's corrupt. Why won't Bill Barr do anything? Why doesn't he charge him for these obvious crimes? And a lot of the QAnon people were telling me, trust the plan, Rob, trust the plan. No need to get upset. Trust the plan. Barr will charge Comey before the election. Trust us. Well, here we are. When it comes to the QAnon people. However, you heard me defend them, and I thought it was absurd that Republicans, of course the Democrats, but Republicans were signing legislation to condemn QAnon. Ridiculous. And one of the things I'll say about them is, now I hope there are a lot of people in that movement. Don't trust an individual. Don't trust some entity. If Trump loses, one of the positives is trust yourself. Trust the people of this country. Trust individuals. Don't put all your eggs in one politician's basket. Not good. Right, Freebird says, don't trust the plan, be the plan. So yeah, the election is garbage. Other things that are worth talking about, like how ridiculous the election is. Why don't we have, on one hand, we talk about the importance of body cams on police, something I agree with, by the way. But we don't have, cameras on poll station workers constantly. Why wouldn't that be? Why wouldn't there be maximum transparency? Why are we going to allow them to board up windows so people can't see? You think that's the sign of a healthy election? The Democrats saying, no, we want every ballot counted, but in secret. You think that's healthy? That's a good sign. What about the way the media covered this? Fox News still has Arizona call. The cognitive dissonance here is incredible. So I watched some of Tucker last night, and they had Bill Hemmer on, who's going to explain their electoral map, right? And Tucker's like, okay, we go to Bill Hemmer. Let's look at these places. And Bill's like, okay, here's Georgia, here's Pennsylvania, here's what's going on. Now, let's go to Arizona. Currently, here's Biden's lead, 5%. But as ballots come in from these places, there's a chance that Trump will be able to recover that. Your map has it called. Why are you telling me that there's a chance that Trump wins if your station, your network, has it called? It's ridiculous. And Arizona probably will go to the Democrats. It'll probably go to Biden. Does that mean that Fox News and the AP were right to call it at 10 o'clock on Tuesday? No! Now, you could say, does it matter in the grand scheme of things? Did one vote switch because Fox News and the AP did that? I don't know. I'm not even making that allegation. But I do know this. Fox News and the AP and everyone else with half a brain in this country knew that no matter how this election went, if it was close, there would be people on either side that were looking for fraud and accusing the election system of being rigged or done unfairly. So why in God's name would you do something so biased? You know that all it's going to do is increase animosity, decrease trust in the reporting. And ultimately, the media are going to be the ones that report who won the election. Like the New York Times said, they're not going to decide, but their spin on it can influence what people believe. Thank you, Yankees fan. Really appreciate the donation. So why would they do that? How hard would it just be if you're in Fox from AP to be like, look, it looks like Arizona's going to go to Biden, but not so much that we're going to call it. And then meanwhile, when it comes to Texas and Florida that were obvious, they refused to call it until basically the last minute. Why? Because they were in the tank with Biden, Fox News, and all these other places. They didn't want people to go to bed looking like, wow, Trump's way up in the Electoral College. These states that are remaining, he's looking really good. So they called states for Democrats that they shouldn't have. They refused to call ones for Republicans. They had Joe Biden come out and say, it looks like we're winning this thing. They stopped counting ballots in these states. And then you went to bed saying, I wonder how it'll be when I wake up the next morning. And when you woke up, at 5 a.m., all of these states found hundreds of thousands of ballots for Joe Biden. Now it looks evident that Joe Biden's winning the election. But hey, Fox, don't be a conspiracy theorist. Look, I still watch Tucker. You want to know something real you could do? Stop watching Fox News. Stop pretending they care about conservatism. Stop pretending that they're not the exact same as CNN and MSNBC. They are. Didn't Trump call that he'd already won? What he said, the difference is this. Biden assured that they were on track to win. Trump assured that he thought they had won. A distinction without that much difference. And Biden did it first. Yeah, we're approaching 95% voter turnout in Wisconsin. It's surreal that people believe that actually happened. So even if you don't believe fraud occurred, like surely you could look and be like, this is the best we could do in the United States, the way this election's been ran. That's the best we could do. Each state wildly different in how they're counting ballots. Many states trying to do it in almost every Democratic city in these swing states trying to do it so people can't see what they're doing. Let me ask you this. If we had to stop counting ballots on Tuesday because election workers are tired of blah, 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 so we had to stop counting or reporting them in the middle of the night, why wasn't that the case last night? Why was Detroit and other places like that all of a sudden now on night 2 when it looks like Biden's winning and it looks like these ballots are going to help Biden even further? Now they're counting them. Now we get them out. Is there any reason North Carolina can't report 5% of the votes until the 12th? Right, Yankees. I said election night, or in our coverage, I said, look, Trump needs to be up at least 700,000 to have a chance in Pennsylvania. Trump is now the underdog in Pennsylvania. With the amount of ballots that are still out there, if they continue to track the way the ballots yesterday tracked, Trump will lose by 2-3 points. And there's no reason to think they won't track that way. They're mail-in ballots, which heavily favored Democrats. They come from like Philadelphia regions, which heavily favored Democrats. No, popular vote's a disaster. Popular vote would make the things I'm talking about right now even worse. Because if we had a popular vote, well then, the shenanigans that you see in these big cities right now, they would have even more influence. California would be able to do whatever the hell they wanted. Yeah, we have 180% voter turnout in California today, and every single person voted for Joe Biden. Wait a minute, can we send some poll watchers in there? Some people from the federal government, some people from the conservative? No, we're boarding up windows. You can't see it. Right now, if California does that, okay, that's horrible, but they just get the electorals in the Electoral College. So you still could have a non-corrupt process in other places and still have the correct electorals be appointed. If it's a popular vote, well then they could go far superior, far more influence through their corruption on the national election. Yeah, and I mean, that's one thing, that's one of the positives. Media viewership will tank because Trump was a big cash cow. Not many people are going to want to turn in for breaking Rachel Maddow, breaking story today. We have an MSNBC alert. Joe Biden's a really decent guy. All right, we have a guest on now. Here's Here's Jim Comey. Jim, how you doing today? Doing great. Thank God that Joe Biden won. Thank God he's back in office. He's doing a great job. So what do you think about the great job, Mr. Comey, that Biden's doing? How great would you say on a scale of 1 to 10? I'd put it at an 8. I'd put his greatness as an 8 is what I would put it at. Yeah, but do you think maybe his greatness is approaching a 9, Mr. Comey? Do you think that that's possibly happening? Yeah, you're right. Maybe, it's controversial, but maybe it's not an 8 in greatness. Maybe it's a 9. But everything he's done is perfect. It's just absolutely perfect. The only thing I would criticize him for is, he just is too humble. He should come out and talk about how perfect he is more. Well, thank you, Mr. Comey. We really appreciate it. And what do you think about all the wars that Biden's getting us into? Oh, the people that are against these wars are racist, Miss Maddow. They're racist. We have to go to these wars. These are noble defense-oriented wars. We have to bomb all of these brown people in other countries to prove that we're not racist. Yeah, I agree, Mr. Comey. That's a fantastic point. Absolutely. So, all right, we'll be right back after this, where we'll be talking to James Clapper, about how great Joe Biden is. Yeah, I don't see that getting big ratings, even for the Democrats. Future Wolf says, California deserves to have influence since their GDP is much larger than all other states combined except a couple. They produce so much income for the federal government that people deserve to have the say. The people do have a say. In what way does California not have a say? My point is, if we're pointing out the differences in the way different states and different areas are counting votes instead of having universal standards, those differences are only maximized if you have a popular vote, because you have a popular vote, but each place is counting them in different ways, which means that you're more able to influence or to have control over other places that you currently don't with an electoral college system. Hannity will be lit, though, with Biden. Breaking news. Lindsey Graham talks about the corruption of Joe Biden. Day 53 of the Senate's investigation into, the election and into FBI interference into Donald Trump. Hi, how you doing, Hannity? Oh, man, these people want power, and God help us if they ever get it. We're really heavily considering subpoenas. And let me tell you another thing, Hannity. Let me tell you something. If these tech companies don't shape up, I'm going to break some news here, Hannity. I'm going to break some news. You ready for this? If these tech companies don't shape up, me and 7 of my Republican colleagues on the Senate, we're going to send a letter to Jack Dorsey, and he ain't going to like reading it. It is going to be strongly worded. This letter is going to include up to 4 exclamation points. That's how serious it's getting now, Hannity. My goodness, Lindsey Graham, you're a hero. You're an absolute hero, Mr. Graham. Senator Graham, this is amazing. How many people do you think will be locked up? Will we see more people locked up here than in Benghazi? We're going to lock up the exact same amount of people that we did under Benghazi. And that's how you can be confident in America. These people want power, and God help us if they ever get it, right? We're here. We're the bulwark against them, Vote establishment Republican. Let's get Mitt Romney in office, huh? Let's do it. Hopefully people wake up. Stop watching Fox News. I like Tucker. That's my one vice. I'll still watch Tucker. Tucker, if you're listening, get the hell out of Fox News. And then you have Trump supporters. 6 months into a Biden administration, Fox News is awesome. Look at how they go after Biden. That's exactly what we need in a press. I'm glad, Fox is there going after Biden. And then I'll be like, hey, you remember when Fox News election night helped delegitimize the president and cover up for the fraud that was going on in this? Do you remember that? Huh? What? Election? Who'd you say? Trump? I don't recall. Trump? Who is that? Oh, whatever. Anyways, this next Hannity segment's going to be lit. It's going to be crazy. That Juan Williams on the 5, but the rest of those people on the 5, man, they're really going after President Biden. This is some good shit. It's really making a difference here. Tucker would be able to educate viewers on another platform. If Tucker had his own platform like Joe Rogan, guarantee I'd watch, and I bet millions of others would as well. By the way, I say this all the time, even before this election, even to my friends on the left. Stop giving these corporate news agencies your money and your viewership. Stop giving them control. Even if you're on the left, they're great left-wing content providers on social media, on some of these tech platforms. They're not beholden to corporate interest. I might disagree with everything they say. I'm not saying if you're on the left, you have to watch people like me because I'm conservative. That's not what I'm saying. But there are people that share your views and that are much better than the mainstream media, that are independent content creators, regardless if I agree with them or not. So, So, yeah, Fox went the way of Drudge. I mean, Hannity says the right things, but I don't know. I don't watch Hannity. It is what it is. I like Tucker. That's it. I don't watch anyone else on Fox. I'm tired of seeing Lindsey Graham go on Hannity and promise us the moon. Tell you what, if Lindsey Graham came on my show and he was like, well, I'd talk to him. I'd be polite. Oh, yeah. I'd leave him talk for like 5 minutes. And finally I'd be like, Senator Graham, what do you say about the fact that you've done exactly dick all of importance to do anything against this coup? Comment on that? But no one's going to hold his feet to the fire. Oh, this time, strongly worded letters and subpoenas are on their way. Mm-hmm. This election was a victory for the people because it proved the pollsters were wrong. It proved they were wrong, and it showed that we're not going to accept the radical nature of the Democratic Party. We did not give them total control. Oh, and it just so happens that I won my election, and it helps that we got an anti-establishment person like Trump out that we never wanted in the first place. So, hey, big win for Lindsey Graham, big win for the rhinos. They win huge. That's another thing. I'm supposed to believe that the difference that, Republicans are doing really good in a lot of these states that were unanticipated, but not Trump. There were tons of people casting their ballot for Republican, Joe Biden. Let's see here what this came in. I mean, it's amazing. It's amazing to me. Real quick about the pollsters. I keep hearing people saying, well, the one good thing we can say is finally the pollsters have lost their power. Says who? Rob, didn't you see how wrong they were? Yep, I saw it in 2016 too. And? Well, no one's going to trust them anymore. Really? You confident in that? I think people have a short-term memory. I think their influence will be just about exactly what it was this time, next time. We were able to forget everything they got wrong in 2016 and put importance on it going into 2020. So I'm pretty sure we'll be able to forget everything they got wrong in 2020 and put importance on it in 2024. Sure, maybe some will lose their jobs and they'll change their names, but they'll assure us we've changed our methodology. This time we got it right. We got it right this time. And it matters. It matters what the pollsters think because that helps shape public opinion. If you tell people everyone thinks a certain way, then the leaders say, oh, everyone thinks that way, so that's how I'll lead. So if the polls were wrong from the get-go, all of a sudden you have a few people that are paying for these polls help craft the public narrative. Yes, it would be good if we stopped doing that. We won't. Even if they ditch Pelosi, they'll just put someone in there that operates in the same path. I mean, you'll see. You'll see. The progressives will see. I can't wait to see all of my anti-war progressive friends tell me how racist I am for not supporting the wars that Joe Biden and Bernie Sanders and all them are about to get us into and tell us that it's a good thing, though. It'll be racist for me to be against those wars. Rob, you're against the bombing of India? What the hell's wrong with you, you racist? Except China. They ain't going to do anything. I mean, China's our friend, right, Joe Biden? Don't want to do anything negative to them. Future Wolf says, I just want the government to function so we can get education reform, infrastructure bill. Good luck. I trust the guy that's been there for 47 years and did nothing will give us reform. The people that are against school choice, first off, we in the Democratic Party, we think the Republicans are racist. They're very racist. And also, in the inner cities, we don't trust black people to make decisions for where to send their children to school because they're not capable of doing that. The Republicans are racist for thinking that black parents have the ability to make the best choices for their children. We in the Democratic Party know better. We're not racist like the Republican Party. We know that black people aren't smart enough to make decisions for where to send their kids to school. So that proves that we're anti-racist. It's the other side that's racist. By the way, education reform. Let's give more money to these same inner city schools that have failed black people for years and years and years. But now we'll reform it once we're in charge again. That's the way reform works. And for that record, all of you on the left, great job. Great job, by the way. I really appreciate the revolution that you're giving us. This is what revolutions are all about. Black Lives Matter, Antifa. This is fantastic. Taking to the streets, the little guy standing up to the big guy, standing up to the massive corporation, standing up to the establishment. That's what revolutions are all about. And so I'm so happy that the little guy is fighting the powerful, the establishment with Nike, these little companies, startup companies like Nike and Amazon. I'm glad they're fighting with Amazon and like the entirety of the mainstream media, the little guys, the mainstream media, the billionaire class, George Soros, Bill Gates. Yeah, I'm glad, it's good that the little guys finally rising up, the little guys, right? Isn't that amazing? And, we know that the system's systemically racist. So it's great to see that we're going to finally fight that systemically racist system by re-electing everyone that's been in control of that system for over 50 years. That's how you fight systemic racism. Keep giving those people in control of that system power. That's how you do it. This is a revolution. You know who your enemy is? Your enemy is working class Americans. Thank God we have a revolution against working class Americans. That's the real powerful. They're the real evil people. The great Satan, if you will. Working class Americans. So thank God that the disenfranchised could partner with Nike and Amazon and the Democratic Party to prove that the real people that have been controlling the establishment for years have been, people working 9 to 5 in flyover country. They're the real evil people. They're terrible. Oh, they're disgusting. They're the establishment. So way to vote. Vote for Amazon. Vote for the CIA, the Democratic Party, right? The CIA, the FBI, all the wealthy oligarchs. Finally, by voting for all of these noble, wealthy people, we could finally go against the establishment that's ran by people making $12 an hour, working in rural Pennsylvania. Finally, we could get those people out of power. We're sick and tired in this country of the huge amount of power that working class Americans have. We're tired of it. We need to burn down their cities. That's what we need to do. Nike and Amazon and the CIA and the FBI, those are the real little guy. That's the little guy that we need to turn to be able to destroy this systemic racism. Of course it's sarcasm. Future Wolf says everyone's convinced Trump runs in 2024, but I keep hearing the New York AG has signed and sealed indictments of him. I don't know if that's true, but I am predicting wholeheartedly that the establishment is furious. They are furious that someone, just like Chuck Schumer said, can't go after them. They'll find 6 ways from Sunday of getting back at you. That's what a Democrat told us about Donald Trump, about the intel agencies. They're furious. How dare someone challenge our power? The election in 2016 was supposed to be Marco Rubio or Jeb Bush versus Hillary Clinton. Then we win either way, says the intel agencies and the establishment. How dare someone interrupt that? So when he wins, we'll interfere we'll have every major institution be completely against him for 4 years. And then, if he loses, we will go after him in every way possible. Because they're not just going after Trump. They're sending a message to you and to anyone who might think about bucking the establishment. Don't you dare. Don't dare do it. It'll be 30 years or more before we have a president on the left. It could be on the left or the right. That'll be able to advocate, to win and advocate a form of populism, of caring about the average person. Tulsi Gabbard might have been someone like that. She don't have a chance now. Heck, even Jill Stein or someone like that. They might have been someone like that. They don't have a chance. Yes, I'm a Democrat Bernie supporter, and I have chosen to vote for the very party that basically cheated my candidate in 2016, and then my candidate basically capitulated to, totally saying, I assure you, I am a good person. I am a corporate stooge. Please allow me to achieve power. But they didn't allow. But I'm going to vote for that party that screwed my guy over because things will get better with them. It's okay. The Republicans will do the same thing. Come 2024, you think Lindsey Graham? You think that party, right? Now they're going to stick up for Trump. I mean, after they basically had to gag to pretend to defend him for 4 years, now they'll make sure that he gets in there, right? Oh, now we got her. What's up, Yankees fan? Trump making huge announcement in Las Vegas at 11:30. I will tune in. We'll see what that is. Yeah, Biden is going to win. I would say there's probably a 96, 97% chance of that. Future Wolf says, I don't think Trump is the person to unite us and take strides towards ending systemic racism. He seemed to really divide us on that topic at least. Well, that topic is itself racist. Critical race theory and the people that promulgate it are the racist. That's what's going on. This country is not systemically racist. And those who promulgate it are encouraging racism. For example, the 1619 Project. The woman, the corporatist consultant that wrote the book White Fragility. We literally have, I tuned into a little of the Young Turks coverage their election night, and I listened to some woman, they were talking about Florida, and they were like, how do you explain the fact that so many Cuban Americans, Hispanic Americans, and even an increased percentage of black Americans voted for Trump? And this is what the woman said. She said, because these people are self-hating, because they need the current racist system to continue to promulgate so that they could feel comfortable in their life. You see, people of color are just stupid. They're just dumb. Hispanics are dumb. Get it? Says the anti-racist. Trump dividing us with racial tensions. That's what happened? That's what was going on? How so? Why? Because the media kept saying that he refused to denounce white supremacy, and he did over 35 times, over and over and over again. So vote for the guy that was eulogizing the Grand Cyclops of the KKK. We got to vote for the guy that says you're not really black if you vote for him, because the other person is racist because he had historic low black unemployment numbers. Is that it? Is that what it was? Met with leaders in the black community and achieved prison reform in the STEP Act that was considered a huge victory for leaders in the black community that even Obama was unable to achieve. We keep hearing about how racist he is, but every time someone who dislikes Trump goes to the White House to meet him that's black, they come away saying, hey, he seemed to genuinely care about our issues, and even though I'm not going to vote for him, I'd still work with him. I applaud that. No, those people are mistaken. Ask Ice Cube. We had to attack him. How dare he say that? What's up, Ramon? Doesn't Trump have 95% approval in the Republican Party? How is it possible they voted in Repubs to Senate, but not Trump? Smells like fish. I totally agree. Totally. It would make more sense for every president in the Republican Party that we've seen in the past 20 years, for every candidate. They had less approval. Trump has historic approval in the Republican Party. Yet, we're supposed to believe, despite his 95% approval, only 70% of Republicans voted for him in many of these swing states. Yang is horrible. I'm not even saying universal basic income. Yang is milquetoast garbage, is what Yang is. He's out there cheering for Joe Biden. He's a centrist. Yang's a centrist. That's why he was against, that's why he was for the coup against Donald Trump. Some centrists there. We need moderates that'll bring us together, like Tulsi Gabbard, who voted for the impeachment process of Donald Trump. That's what we need. I mean, Future Wolf, you just repeated the biggest, probably the most impactful lie in the history. You say, after a Nazi drove over a lady and killed her, Trump said there were good people on both sides, but a Nazi just killed an innocent lady. He said it because he can't denounce racism. He's denounced racism over 35 times. He never has, as far as I can tell. Yes, he's done it over 35 times. So yeah, he's not the best for racial tensions. Good at other stuff, sure. So here's what happened. Trump gave 3 speeches. And again, over and over and over, probably 30 times on this channel, someone just like you, who I think's talking in good faith. I don't think you're a bad person. I had someone just the other day. I said, if I were to show you that even in that speech where Trump said that there were good people on both sides, that later in the speech he said, I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis, the KKK, the racists, they need to be condemned in the strongest possible terms. If I were to show you that you were lied to over and over and over again, would it make you question the other things that you were told about Trump? I mean, you're literally saying Trump was good on other things, but this one thing that he said there were fine people on both sides, meaning that he couldn't denounce racism. It's absurd. So in Trump's first speech, he came out and said, I strongly condemn these racist attacks. They've occurred for a long time, before me, before Obama, this sort of vitriol, anger, and racism, and it needs to be condemned in the strongest terms. And no matter what your skin color or background, this is America, and it's a country for all of us, and we need to come together. Doesn't sound like he was not condemning racism there. Sounds like the exact opposite. The media said, oh, Trump didn't specifically condemn neo-Nazis and the KKK. My God, why didn't he specifically condemn neo-Nazis and the KKK? Oh, this is horrible. So Trump comes out the next day and says, as I said yesterday, these sort of racist attacks have been occurring for years and they need to be condemned in the strongest possible terms. I specifically condemn the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other groups such as this, and blah, 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 and goes on. The next day, Trump gives a speech where he's talking about economic plans. The media keeps saying, why did it take you so long to condemn the KKK? Why did it take you so long? Mr. President, why did it take you so long? Trump, in an unscripted moment, starts talking about it. He has incredible frustration because he sees what happens is he understands the dangers of the radical left. And as I've been saying on my show, the problem with groups like Antifa and the radical portions of Black Lives Matter, it's not that they're radical and willing to use violence. That's bad enough. But the problem is they're defended by people in positions of power. No one in a position of power defends the KKK at all. They don't say, well, the KKK has some good ideas. That is what we say about Antifa. That is what they say about some of the radical people in Black Lives Matter. So Trump, frustrated with this, says, look, there were bad actors on both sides. Yes, there were good people on both sides. But there were bad actors on both sides. That's what Trump's trying to get across in an unscripted moment. And then a press person goes, did you just say Nazis were good people? Are you saying, wait. And Trump says, no, clearly the Nazis, there were good people. I'm not talking about the Nazis, the white supremacies. Clearly I condemn them. But there were people that just wanted to protect those statues and didn't want them to come down. That's what was said. With all due respect, Future Wolf, your comment there is bullshit. If he was good at it, it wouldn't require all these second explanations. All right, fair enough. So let me ask you this. Let's have a conversation with you, Future Wolf. Do you condemn white supremacy? Future Wolf, I hope you could respond to this stuff. You did. So that's your statement. Can you just say, I condemn white supremacy? You said, yeah. That's not really a condemnation. You just said, yeah. What does that mean? Yeah? That seems odd that you just said, yeah. Are you able to type that you condemn white supremacy? It did take a little bit of time. Now look, now wait a minute. You think Trump's good at other stuff. Why didn't you? So I asked you to condemn white supremacy and you make a statement. You're talking about other stuff. Will you type, I condemn white supremacy? Why is it so difficult for you to type this? Like right now, Richard Spencer's watching you going, thank you, Future Wolf. I'm glad that you're obfuscating the issue. Why won't you type it? Why won't you type that you condemn white supremacy? How long are we going on? Over a minute now? You condemn white supremacy, lol, so you're laughing about it. It doesn't sound like you're so serious about condemning white supremacy. Now, I noticed you didn't mention that you condemn the KKK in that statement. I mean, it really seems like you're dog whistling to white supremacists right now. It's actually disgusting. I mean, I kind of thought that you would be able to condemn it based on your position, but now it seems pretty disgusting. You're joking around about racism and white supremacists. You're unwilling to specifically say you condemn the KKK. It was like pulling teeth to get you to even say that you condemn white supremacy. Are you going to condemn the KKK? Are you going to condemn them? Oh, taking your time again, I see. I mean, that's disgusting. Right now, you condemn the KKK, but you didn't mention neo-Nazis at all. So you're against the KKK, but you like the skinheads. I see that. That's disgusting. So right now, are you going to condemn the neo-Nazis? Are you going to condemn them right now? Because I notice you've been avoiding the issue the entire time. You've been avoiding condemning neo-Nazis. It's disgusting. This is absolutely... You condemn the skinheads and neo-Nazis, but you didn't say anything about Richard Spencer's group. I noticed that. You didn't say word one about them. And you know Richard Spencer voted for the same person you did. He voted for Joe Biden. So I find that very strange that you didn't condemn him. Are you willing to condemn Richard Spencer? Wow. That's extraordinary. Unwilling to condemn Richard Spencer. I can't believe it. He was on CNN. You get the point. Now you obfuscate. Oh, I get your point. So I ask you point blank if you condemn Richard Spencer. You refuse to answer. You say it's not similar to what Trump did on the stage. This is pathetic. This is horrible. Absolutely horrible. You know, I'm really questioning whether or not we should have an avid white supremacist like yourself on this chat. You don't know who Richard Spencer is? You could look and, oh my God. Richard Spencer, one of the biggest white nationalists in this country, who voted for Joe Biden. You don't know who he is? Ridiculous. Remember when Trump said he didn't know who David Duke was? And that proved that he was a white supremacist, that Trump was dog whistling to white supremacy. But it's different for you, right? It's different for you. You see how that works, Future Wolf? You understand? That is what they did to Trump. He says, I condemn this. I condemn racism. But why don't you condemn racism more? Okay, I condemn it more. But why didn't you specifically say the KKK? Yes, I specifically condemn the KKK. But why did it take you 2 days to specifically condemn the KKK? Look, there were good people on both sides. There were bad people on both sides. And if you were fair in the media, you would be able to report that. Of course, I condemn the KKK and white supremacists. But let's stop pretending that the other side that showed up with ball bats with nails in it and stuff to get in a fight were good people. Oh my God, you're saying Nazis are good people? No, I didn't say that. I clearly said they're bad people. And then someone like you is like, well, if Trump was good at this, it wouldn't require explanations for people like Rob. Okay, well, we just gave you the treatment. How about I selectively edit that? How about I edit out the sections where you specifically say that you condemn white supremacy and condemn the KKK? That's what they did to Trump. All you ever hear is the good people part. They skip the part below where he says, clearly I'm condemning the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists. They cut that part out. And then you, and people like you, and I'm not saying you're a bad person, but you just believe the propaganda. Joe Biden's single issue, he claims, for getting into the election was because Trump called Nazis good people, which is a lie. Yeah, exactly. So you're saying... Exactly, Roy. If his words weren't edited, it wouldn't require a second explanation. Meanwhile, okay, all of these times that Trump was asked to condemn white supremacy, imagine that if Trump would have said this. Chris Wallace says, let me ask you straight up, Mr. Trump, will you condemn white supremacy? And Trump says, white supremacy is only an idea. What do you think the treatment of that would have been? Huh? You think the media would have been like, that's true. There's no group called white supremacist. It's just an idea. That's true. He did denounce it when the whole world was watching. But again, Future Wolf, if he would have said, it's just an idea, would you have accepted that? You'd have said, okay, even if that's true, do you denounce it, right? Isn't that what? Correct? Isn't that? Prove that Proud Boys are white supremacists. Where's your evidence? He did not say Proud Boys stand by the way. That is a lie. He admitted it. He didn't know who the Proud Boys was even. Now, meanwhile, I noticed that you avoid the question. Why was it okay for when we're looking at a radical violence on the left and Biden was asked to condemn it? He refuses. He says, oh, it's just an idea. And everyone on the left and the media goes, well, that's true. It's just an idea. Okay, it's an idea that's leading to people to be radicalized and attack people. Could Joe Biden have said, look, I think Antifa is just an idea. Some people that claim to be anti-fascist and Antifa are good people, but certainly there are people using violence in the name of that, and I strongly condemn that. Is that what Joe Biden said? No. He didn't say anything like that. He refused to condemn that violence. But that's okay. He gets a pass. He gets a pass on it. Biden has denounced what? I just give you examples of Trump denouncing white supremacy, but apparently on the stage it wasn't good enough. But on the stage when Biden refused to denounce Antifa and said, oh no, it's just an ideology, that was fine. Right. And like you could see, those of you that are watching the chat, you could see the cult-like mentality. Trump is a racist. Trump did not denounce it. Trump is a racist. What about this time when he denounced it? Trump is a racist. But what about this time when he denounced it? Trump is a racist. But what about this time when he denounced it? Trump is a racist. It's a very articulate point you're making there, Tyler. Very good. Biden will win the election, so shut up. And again, Future Wolf, by the way, totally different conversation I'm having with you, even though we disagree. Fair conversation. We're actually having a discussion. Tyler represents much of what you see on the left, particularly the Twitch left, which is just, I repeat everything that people tell me. I can't argue issues, so I just make empty platitudes over and over. Trump's a racist. Biden will win. Shut up. What next? You call me a conspiracy theorist, ask me if I think the earth's flat, tell me I'm fat. These are all great arguments. I get what you're saying, Future Wolf. I understand. Your argument's more nuanced, and I do respect it, but I think you're wrong. I don't think that it's Trump's bad with the racial tension stuff. I think that it's the media is intentionally making him look so. By the way, Future Wolf, it's been so long since you've denounced white supremacy. I would think that as someone who's concerned about white supremacy, you would be coming out denouncing it again. I'm not saying you're a racist, Future Wolf, but you're doing a really bad job of assuaging racial tensions. You're doing really bad. You know, it would seem easy to just be like, look, racism's bad. It's systemic racism's bad. We need to constantly call it out. And it seems like the majority of your posts here have not been doing that. So I just want to throw that out, you know. And Future Wolf says, I do agree the media will edit and spin Trump stuff a lot. That is a fact. Same for all candidates. No, it's not the same for all candidates. That's the problem. Like, you don't have to take my word for it. Take Glenn Greenwald's word for it. Glenn Greenwald hates Trump. Glenn Greenwald, super progressive journalist, responsible for the Snowden papers, working with Snowden, right? Against corruption. Hates Trump. Probably thinks Trump's a really bad person. I know he really wanted to vote against him, right? And it's not just him. It's Matt Taibbi, it's Michael Tracy, it's Jimmy Dore, it's Aaron Mattei. All of them are shocked at how the media has been absolutely silent and ran absolute coverage almost universally for Joe Biden. So it's not every candidate. It's not every politician. It's the opposite with Joe Biden. They make excuses every time Joe Biden says something. Like if Donald Trump would have came out and said, black people aren't diverse. Not like Latinos. Latinos are diverse people, but not blacks. If Donald Trump would have came out and said, you're not black if you don't vote for me. Being black means you have to vote a certain way. The media would have been all over him. Oh my God, what a racist thing to say. Joe Biden says it. No problem. No problem at all. Future Wolf, let me ask you. Let me make this point to everyone in the audience. Future Wolf is clearly at a disadvantage because he's typing. Anyone who's typing while I'm talking, and it's my show, so it puts them at a disadvantage. Not only is the audience predisposed to probably being in favor of me, but it's really hard to be typing and to be able to make a solid argument against someone who has the ability to talk, just because in general I could get so much more information out there. And I concede that to anyone on the left that ever discusses things on the chat. I concede that. I understand that, right? So if I keep saying, by the way, how long has it been, Future Wolf, since you've condemned white supremacy? I mean, it seems like an easy thing to do. I'm shocked that it's taken you so long since I brought it up again. I'm shocked. Now, the fact that you're at a disadvantage, Future Wolf, because basically I'm controlling the narrative right here, everyone could see, like, you're like, okay, but this is silly. I think that in good faith, people will understand that you're not refusing to denounce racism. That's what you're thinking right now, Future. The problem is I control the narrative. So I could spin it that way if I want. And if I wanted to, I could edit this video and I could make it seem like you refuse to condemn white supremacy. And that would be horribly unfair. That's what they did to Trump. That's what they did. Well, that's a different argument, though, Future Wolf. The policy, I agree, the policies they vote for are important. But you just said, well, Trump did a lot of good things, but the thing that troubled you was he wasn't good for racial tensions. But the racial tension stuff, the policies he had on race were quite good. I think even the black community leaders would admit. They liked the STEP Act. They liked the Platinum Plan, which, by the way, I was against the Platinum Plan. But they liked that. There were things they would say he could have done better. But they liked his economic policies that were helping inner city communities and black communities in historic ways. But it was the narrative is reason that it was said that Trump was bad for people of color. Not the policies, the narrative. Oh, well, what Trump said. And it was selectively edited and it was pushed. So, like, I don't understand. I mean, I think maybe you need to think about, like, the position you're having here. The Platinum Plan just basically says this, that Trump's going to work with black community leaders and black business leaders to guarantee loans at very low interest and help out people in the black community. I think that it's a terrible plan because the federal government, any government, has no business creating laws based on race. It is a terrible idea. But if you were someone in the black community that wanted unique help for the black community, this would be seen as a victory to you. I think that instead, the Platinum Plan should be something like this. The exact same thing. We will guarantee loans, help from the federal government to business owners that are of a lower socioeconomic level. And if it's true, which it is, that there are more blacks in a lower socioeconomic level, then the Platinum Plan would have disproportionately helped blacks. I have no problem with that. The problem I have is saying that it's specifically for blacks, because that causes racial division. But that's basically the Platinum Plan. So, yeah, so we'll be wrapping up here. I got like 9 minutes left, but yeah, it's been a good conversation, you know. So the theme of the day that, you know, we kind of got off track, but that's fine. It's my show. I don't mind getting off track. I think these are good conversations. Was even if you don't think there's fraud and corruption, like surely no one could be happy with how this election took place. Changing the rules 3 months out, the way that it was reported on, calling places in different ways, ballots being counted in secret, ballots arbitrarily being stopped being counted, and then, you know, hundreds of thousands of going a certain way. More people, huge percentages of people voting that seems very inexplicable. Large portions of every poll was showing Trump was the most popular Republican president as far as in the Republican Party, yet somehow when it got to the polls, huge percentages of Republicans decided not to vote for him, but to vote for other Republicans. Precincts that had over 150, 200% turnout. I didn't even get into all the allegations of, like, because I can't prove them, of ballots being tossed in the garbage and things like that. Yeah, Nevada's not going to look. So it is fraud. And, you know, and then we talked about, you know, kind of how just because maybe Republicans did better down ballot, like, oh, well, that's something to cheer. It's not, because it's not Republican versus Democrat. It's establishment versus the people against the establishment. You know, and I honestly, I know people think I'm full of it. I sympathize. Look, I'm not, like, I'm socially liberal, totally for gay rights. A lot of Republicans hate that, for basically decriminalization of things like marijuana. I think that our prison system in this country is horrible. The fact, I don't mind joking, right? So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that I'm someone that offensive jokes, you know, but, you know, the fact that we have a prison system that rape is so frequent that it is able to be a joke is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. something that needs to be changed. There are serious problems in this country that need to be dealt with, including problems in the inner city. I just have different solutions. But I understand the frustration and the anger there. I definitely get it. Definitely get it. Or whether to say I don't understand, and I never will. I've said over and over again, I'm so lucky. Not because of my skin color, but because I had loving parents. I was able to get an education, even though we were poor, and it was at, a school that's by no means spectacular in rural Pennsylvania with almost no money. I was lucky. Those people that come out of the inner city and achieve and are awesome Americans, I couldn't have did that. I know what would have happened. I'd have fell into a gang. I would have stopped caring about an education. I know that's what I would have done. There are huge problems. I get it. I'm willing to listen to the people on the left. I disagree with a lot of what they say. I absolutely do. I think that this is the greatest country in the history of the world. Our foundational documents are so important and need to be followed, and I see the left chipping away at it every day. I believe you should, fiscally, I'm very conservative. I think you should leave people keep their money. Taxation is waste. It's many times theft. We should have limited taxes to provide for things like infrastructure and other things like that. But we're blowing it on foreign wars and, aid packages that go to corrupt oligarchs in other countries like Burisma. All sorts of crap. We have politicians that inexplicably are making $150,000 a year, yet they're in office for 30, 40 years and they're worth $400 million in some cases. This stuff is incredibly corrupt. Here's an issue that should be bipartisan that I would hope the people on the left could come together with me. Remember that congressional slush fund that we were paying Congress people that were accused of sexual assault? Our tax dollars was going to pay to silence the people accusing them. Why can't we get the list of the names on that? Why can't we end that? There are so many things we could come together on. So I'm willing to listen to the left. And I understand. Let no one accuse me. I have said from day one after the election, I think that Biden will win. I think that it's corrupt. But I understand that you could be a Biden supporter and not believe that and think it's not corrupt. And I understand if you want to come on and make fun of me and be like, you're a Trump supporter. Haha. I get it. I get that human nature. Totally get it. And in all fairness, you in 2016, probably if you're a Democrat, you felt like the election was stolen. It wasn't, but that's how you felt. And boy, did Trump supporters let you have it. Boy, did they mock you. So I get it. I get it for being like, all right, now it's our turn. I totally get it. I'm not crapping on people on the left. That's not what I'm doing. I'm saying I think you made a huge error in judgment because you're endorsing the establishment. That's what I'm saying. So I'm trying, what I wanted to do with this show was to show, even if you don't think that there's fraud, why there are all these things that you should really raise your eyebrows and say, well, hey, I think that Biden won legitimately, but boy, this was done in a really amateurish, crappy way. That's what I was trying to do. So maybe in the future, then we could say, we need to change this to make sure there is faith in the system. Because even the group that won, even Biden that won, even a lot of people that support him were like, but yeah, this was really bad. It could have been done in a much better way. So that's what I was trying to do today. So, all right. Thank you so much for anyone that donated. Thank you, everyone, for watching. I really appreciate it. If I could give a couple recommendations, I guess just let me say I got 3-4 minutes left. So let me say this, I know I've been putting a lot of content up and I love producing content. It's something that I really enjoy, right? But there's some things that I want to ask you. The first is, I am on DLive. I think DLive's a fantastic platform. I'm going to start to put a lot of material up on locals.com as well. The reason that I prefer platforms like DLive and locals.com is they are free speech minded. They allow people on the right and the left. If there was a platform that was a right-wing platform that encouraged me, but was censoring people on the left, I would not support it. I will guarantee you of that. Now, does that mean DLive will never censor anyone on the left or the right for that matter? No, that's not what I'm saying. The same with locals. I can't tell you how they'll be ran. But I can tell you if there was a platform like Twitter and the way it censors conservatives that started to censor liberals, it might be good for me and my side winning, but I would be opposed to that. I would not support that. So if I could actively encourage you, right now I don't have locals running as much. I need to figure out technologically how to stream there simultaneously with my show. But D Live is up and running. Please, please, please follow me on D Live if you can. Twitch is even better than YouTube. So I'm Normal America on D Live. On YouTube and Twitch, I'm Normal America with Rob Noor. Please consider following me on those platforms. Secondly, if you like the content, if you could share it with other people, I would really like to try to grow my audience, because I think what I'm saying is important, but maybe people disagree, but I think what I'm saying is important. And if you agree with that, consider, if you're ever talking to someone like, hey, did you check this fat guy out, Normal America? You might like him. If you have a friend that's interested in politics or the country or something like that. So I would really appreciate all that. If you're in the Pennsylvania area or elsewhere, but particularly in the Pennsylvania area, and you need life insurance, please let me know. That is my job now. Just so I would be happy to help you with that, even if you're not in Pennsylvania. Just to be quite honest with you, I'm broke. I have a kid coming. I left a job I had of 9 years where I took care of people with developmental disabilities. And it was really hard to leave, but the company was treating me like crap. So I kind of had to move on to that, and I moved on to selling life insurance. So I only get paid when I sell insurance, and it's been really tough with just a lot of things since I started the election. People were busy with that. The lockdowns, a lot of people in my area are broke. So as a result, I am going broke. So donations are appreciated, but that's not even why I'm bringing this up. I'm bringing it up to let you know I'll probably have to get a second job, which will probably mean less content coming out for me. So, I got to do what I got to do. But, there's, unfortunately, I hate to say that, but that is something that could be coming down the pipeline. Now, right now, I like this kind of platform going at 8 a.m. I think it's good. I think it's at a different time. And so hopefully people could watch, and then maybe you could go watch your other favorite streamers or something like that later in the day. So I do like this time slot, and I hope to try to keep it. And I'm not doing this for money. I've lost huge amounts of money since I started this channel, and I started to do things like run for Congress. So I'm not saying, I'm doing this to try to make money. What I'm saying is, unfortunately, because my other situation, I might literally just physically have less time. Like if I get a second job and I have to work 7 to 3, it's going to be hard to do